Today, let's take a look at Web3 and also what it's going to do in terms of the music industry and who's going to win. We'll break it all down for you. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. Let's get into it today. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is Coinbase. If you guys are brand new into crypto, maybe you're coming to this channel for the first time and you're thinking, I'm going to go in and start buying a few tokens, get some Bitcoin, some Ethereum, some Solana, whatever it might be, go over to Coinbase and get your own account there. All you have to do is register using our link. You can get up to $200 in crypto if you just sign up using our link, and enjoy the future of money because it is here now. All right, let's get into a couple of topics today. Audius in the news with some pretty big issues right here. One, of course, is they've established licensing agreements with all the performing rights organizations, which are PROs. And you can kind of see right there, ASCAP, BMI, SESAC, etc. Basically, this is kind of like the union of creators. If you're a musician, you're a part of this. This is how licensing gets basically distributed around different types of platforms. Some of the things that they're getting into when you look at just the idea of what these PROs do is they get into the whole idea of where, you know, when you go to a restaurant or something, you're listening to music, that's a performance right music play. So there's licensing fees that are done that way. And then there's other rights out there, so digital, etc. This is where PRO comes in, and this is a big partnership with Audius. And of course, this means and could mean that Audius could be starting to get a very good position in terms of the creator community, because that's been one of the things I think in terms of adoption that is one of the biggest components that we need to move into Web3. One of the companies out there, though, that currently does this is a company called Ditto. Now, Ditto is one of those that's kind of, I think it's, I don't know if it's a love-hate, I think it's just a hate-hate from the idea of creators, because they are essentially the gateway into music publishing. So they manage your payments, all those kind of things, and there's a lot of artists out there who have been very negative on where Ditto is coming from. I want to play a clip for you guys, because this will get into a little bit more about Ditto and the problems they have. Take a look.
I have been getting tons and tons of comments about a particular issue that artists are having when using Ditto Music as a music distribution company, all right? All revolves around one thing, and that one thing is the payouts. For some reason, so many artists are having issues getting their money from Ditto when it's time for them to collect their money for their streams, all right? With me, I'm not one of those people that I have to experience something for myself in order to not want to partake in it. Like, I don't need to get on a one-to-one fight with a bear to realize that it's dangerous to be in front of a bear. You get what I'm saying? If I got one comment about somebody having an issue with the payout, you know, I'll say, you know, that's probably an isolated situation. Now, if I hear 50, I'm like, wait a minute, there's something going on with Ditto.
All right, so the point is that artists today really have no affinity to the current layers or the current rails of music distribution. You can kind of see the distaste here in terms of payout, speed, all that. Well, Audius has kind of already started to address this. Live streaming payments is out now. And this, I think, will start to make its way into some key artists, probably mid-level, but eventually I think we'll see this in mainline artists, some of the top tier music creators that will start to see, you know, streaming payments. And I think this is an opportunity for Web3 and what it means kind of going to the next level. The other thing that we'll continue to see is the distribution models that are going to happen. Remember that right now there's a lot of gatekeepers for distribution. This is the thing that Web3 kind of solves, well, does solve in a very big way. The question here, of course, is going to be the pickup in terms of how we see artists actually joining into these kind of communities. And of course, one of the things that will do that is what's happening already right now on X, where Blinks is now allowing you to do, if you guys understand anything about Farcaster and Warpcast, you'll understand that you kind of have these little components where you can actually do frames inside of a social media post to engage your audience. And that could be music sales, all sorts of things. This is a good example of just buying Whiff on Sol with Jupiter. There's Mad Lads, examples on that with NFTs. Obviously, we see things around Helium. This will be the key here, I think, going forward, as we start to see more integration into traditional social platforms that integrate into blockchain components and being able to execute on these. And that's where music could be going in the future, of actually seeing this framed in, both on things like X, but other social media platforms out there. I want to go to another clip real quick, and this one gets into a little bit more around how Audius is working with creators and the accumulation of different content within a piece. Take a look.
Myself and my record label Bite This teamed up with Audius to celebrate our last release by my homie Albert Breaker. All you have to do to enter is go to Audius, create a free account, you buy Albert's stems, they're very cheap, but all of that money from all the producers that buy the stems to enter the remix contest gets put into a pot, and whoever wins gets every single dollar that was entered into the pot.
Withdrew some cash from the ATM, but this is actually not for me. I'm gonna put up a bunch of beats on my Audius page, lease one of the beats. You have 1 month to rap or sing and submit it on Audius, and then I'm gonna pick my favorite one and I'm gonna pay your rent.
So great marketing. I think this, of course, gets into the idea of music proliferation out there, and also kind of the extension of a brand. Whether it's a stem, we look at this from a marketing standpoint, it really could create some pretty significant distribution opportunities, especially in social, doing these kind of campaigns. So that, again, using Audius, another way for it to really kind of move into the Web3 component of how music distribution is going to be done. So Audius is really going to be, I think, at the center of where Web3 is going. Now, Ditto could kind of go in this direction, but I'll explain a few things. Let's go with this first clip.
So now this is what happened to me, okay? So I actually was releasing my debut album, okay? So bear in mind, this is very important to me, obviously, as an artist. This is my debut solo album, I really care about it. 5.5 weeks in advance, I uploaded, my music to Ditto, and that, obviously in hope that I would be able to pitch to those Spotify editorial playlists. And then nothing was happening, effectively my album was kind of sitting in, as they call, in review. But in order to have this account for artists, you need to be like an approved artist first. I started writing to Ditto. Firstly, I started sending emails, I started raising tickets, and I've had various issues with that. But I had like completely no response, no reply, no acknowledgement from Ditto. I don't think that's right, personally, because this is not a free service. I pay for this. I'm now considering, changing a distributor. I just need to know who is actually good.
So you can kind of see it, the writing's on the wall, I think, in terms of real creators starting to find new communities. Major artists are still probably going to stay out there, but at some point, we're going to see a tipping of the scales with new artists going onto these new kind of platforms. Here was Ed Sheeran's old label going into music royalties, kind of into the 21st century. And this was Ditto actually doing kind of a splinter. It wasn't a rebrand for Ditto, because Ditto is still operational, but Blue Box was the project that they started, and the idea was to get it onto Web3, and it comes from Ditto Music. Former clients include Sheeran, Sam Smith, etc. Higher collection rates, massively reducing loss of earnings currently experienced by artists. This was a thing that they were trying to achieve with Web3. Didn't work out so well, and of course, Blue Box not really being able to do it. So as you can see, they've already started to rebrand right here into Opulus, to launch this new project. Opulus, in its own right, is a completely new kind of platform that goes into AI generation. So you're taking content from these creators and using AI to basically farm this in and then recreate potential content. That in itself, I think, is one of the challenges that we're probably going to see with things around AI in itself. This is, of course, the Opulus program. So I think this one's dead in its tracks. Audius, of course, already trying to do this. And they tried to do it also, not necessarily on using it as an integral part, but feathering it into what they were trying to do from a Web3 standpoint. But even they, if you look further into it, didn't really succeed at it. Content can only receive AI-generated designation when associated with an artist who have actively opted in for the attribution, meaning this is kind of an honor system. So that's not going to work eventually. Nobody's going to be doing that. This is another failed attempt for AI. I want to go to a clip right here because this is record labels starting to sue the AI startups that are trying to do this. Take a look.
A legal firestorm, it's brewing today over this major clash between record companies and AI music services. The Recording Industry Association of America filing copyright infringement lawsuits today against two separate companies, accusing them of training their AI models on copyrighted music without permission.
And interestingly, this is the software that's behind very prevalent songs. One example being BBL Drizzy. This is a song that was at the center of the spat between Kendrick Lamar and also Drake. So this is technology that is being heard already by millions of people.
This is huge because I've been waiting for certain cases to come forward. This music one is going to be a strong case to come forward because the record labels and the tech companies are both using the terminology of fair use to try to win their case. The CEO of Suno, he says, quote, "Our technology is transformative. It is designed to generate completely new outputs." That's a key word, transformative, because in order to be able to say we created this output in these songs based upon fair use, it has to be a transformative work. And what legislation means by transformative is it has to be used differently than the original intent of it. And so this is what these music AI companies are standing on, which is it's a new transformative work, not the original work.
Ooh, this sounds like it's going to be a tricky legal one.
So whoever wins this, I think the creators lose. That's the thing that really this boils down to. Without a blockchain integrated component, you're never going to really know where that music comes from. And I think that's where blockchain and Web3 solves all of this. Futureverse is a good example of this. This, of course, was just Billboard retweeting this. Futureverse launching Jen, which is an AI music model focused on transparency. And the idea here is to help connect the dots between the creators and the AI use case of the music. And I think that's the biggest question of all going forward. So here's a clip on Jen AI, why it makes a difference. Take a look. All right, so there you can kind of see Futureverse has solved the problem for creators. Here was just kind of following on their Twitter account right here. Here's Jen Music AI, of course, ethically trained. You can kind of see just some of the things that they're pioneering the field of AI music. Multiple patents are now pending. Again, all of this tied in to potentially the root network going forward. So let's take a quick look here. Audius, of course, has another integration opportunity, a partnership with Unreal Engine. This is where it starts to tie into gaming. This is something that Gala was trying to do when they had Gala Music, tied into what Gala Gaming was trying to do. Audius, of course, now taking a huge step forward. The API they're using, of course, is the Open Audio Foundation. More than 1 million tracks, totally free, kind of going into this. I think this is a big, big opportunity going forward. If you look at some of the just some of the traction that Audius has been able to do so far. API calls over 5 million. Still growing upwards. This is lifetime. Unique users also still growing. You look further into here, plays also still growing. And this is really just the beginning. One of the things that also needs to take place is the education around it. This was happening, of course, at AWE. And this was a conference that got into a lot around innovative tech, whether it was blockchain, Web3, but a lot more in, just how we're going to see VR, XR, et cetera. And they were talking a little bit more about this. So I'm going to go to a clip that kind of framed up what they were trying to present at AWE. Listen in.
And I'm thinking, how am I going to release my music? I'm going to put it out on Spotify, and maybe if I'm lucky, people are going to hear it. And I found Spotty Wi-Fi, Fifi Wrong, Nifty Sax, Mike Bass, Cristiano Covino, Alone Architect. The list goes on and on and on. These are all independent musicians who turned to Web3 in the last couple of years. Why? Does anyone know what's been going on in the music industry for the last 20 years? One word answer: theft. Who in the audience knows how much you would make if you had 1 million listens on Spotify? $3,000 for 1 million streams. This woman in the very dead center of this picture, Violetta Zeroni, she's got 2 NFT collections for her music. And between the primary sales of the NFT and then secondary sales on marketplaces of her NFTs, she's generated $2 million in revenue in about 2 years. So that's, I think I did the math, that's 666 million streams on Spotify. You also don't need millions of listens. You can have a few hundred, a few thousand true fans, and they're paying real money. They're paying hundreds to small thousands of dollars to support your career. It is a different world with Web3. Who has a crypto wallet here in the audience? Right, okay, about half of you, that's great.
Guys, this is going to revolutionize content creators. And if you look at some of the ones that are out there, other than what he mentioned there on that clip, was here's Violetta. We talked about her. We actually showcased her not too long ago. So she says record labels suing AI music platforms. Before you know it, they'll make a license deal with said platforms that has the same deal they made with Spotify. We're going to zoom in on for you. I'm happy and able to own and self-distribute my own music that can effectively be owned by individuals through the blockchain. This is happening now. Now we are going to see huge pushback from the music industry. I think we'll probably see a lot of lobbying, especially around the regulatory framework of how this is going to go out. But this is happening now. Artists are starting to wake up and they're starting to understand that self-distribution and/or Web3 integration to their audience is the way. Just to give you an example of some of the projects that you need to be keeping an eye on, here's Root Network. This is just their market cap, all time. Still very low. This is going to explode, I think, over time as this market sees the growth opportunity going forward. If you look at Audius, again, same kind of thing. Here's the max on Audius. Notice something right here. Total supply, max supply, almost all out. This is a big opportunity, I think, for where Audius is going. So make sure and, of course, subscribe to the channel. If you're not in the Diamond Circle, make sure and get in on that. We're doing an airdrop program for Diamond Circle members and some of our paid members. Make sure and check that out. Just go over to our website and, of course, click the link down below. If you guys are not following me on X, do that. It's just @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.